Hello, welcome to the 30th day of August 2025. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation. This is a live video exercise that I do every morning just around 5:30 a.m. Japan time. I do this to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone, which you can read for free at goingalone.org. I also use this time to think about yesterday, the challenges, the opportunities that I met, that I handled well or handled poorly. I also often refer to the general atmosphere of the day yesterday. What is the climate like at this particular season of my life? This helps me to decide how to fit the sails ahead of another day of hopefully good sailing, hopefully peaceful sailing, or as has been the last 48 hours, floating. I'll talk about that in a second. For a quick check of the weather, it's right now at just past 5:30 a.m. It's 24 degrees Celsius and 89% humidity. And the temperature today is going to be 3 degrees hotter than yesterday, which means we're in for a doozy again. So yesterday was pretty nice. The day before that was much nicer. It really felt like autumn was having a trial run 2 days ago. But yesterday felt like summer was like an arm wrestling match. You know, summer was like, oh, not yet. Today I think summer's going to have the win today, and we have an outdoor, a good portion of the day today will take place in the out of doors. So we'll get that done within the morning before it gets too hot. Anyway, let's begin with the disclaimer part of this video. Greeting and disclaimer. Greeting, disclaimer, and thanks. Literally is how I write it down on my notes every day. Greetings to new subscribers to the channel. It's good to have you here. I'm Kurt. I'm a 61-year-old American, retired, about 8 months into retirement. I'm married to a Japanese woman named Yumiko. She's asleep in the next room. She's 61 as well, retired as well. We have a grown daughter, Emily, who lives up in Tokyo. Although she lives in Tokyo, she's not there a lot. She's out of the country this whole entire month of August for her work. So I don't think we're going to get to see her at all this month, especially given it's the second to last day of the month and we haven't seen her yet. Has August really gone by? Wow, we didn't see her. Time is really speeding up. The water is moving swift at this part of the river. Disclaimer. I do frequently talk about things that make people uncomfortable, namely death, namely my own plans for my own death. I don't get in detail. I just simply talk about my readiness for it, which that fact alone seems to unsettle people. It's funny how that could be the case. You know, you like say, I'm stocking up on provisions for the house. What for? In case there's an earthquake. No one says, oh, there'll never be an earthquake. People say, oh, that's a good and smart thing to do. Or you say, I'm going off to see my insurance agent. What for? Well, just in case I need health insurance, right? Just in case I get sick. Nobody says, oh, you'll never get sick. No, they say, oh, good, smart on you to get health insurance. But when I talk about my planning for death, so that I can say that am I prepared to die? A lot of people don't say that. They say, oh no, you've got a long life to live. You should be talking about that. Don't talk about it. Talk about other things, Kurt. Isn't that interesting? Now, a lot of people, get where I'm coming from this, but a lot of people don't. So that's why I include this mention in every single day, is because without fail, every week, every month, reliably, as long as I've been doing this video every day since 2018, people are going to write me an email and say, I heard you talking about your own death, Kurt. And then they go on to cite how their great-grandma Rutabaga lived to 96, smoked a pack of cigarettes a day, and enjoyed whiskey when she was gambling at the pool hall with the guys. Or a whole host of other things, right? Or they tell me that I'm fretting over things, and I'm bringing myself and people down. It's amazing. So anyway, I always tell people that, disclaimer, I'm going to talk about my own death in this video. So just so you know. in case that is something that makes you uncomfortable. All right, and then finally a big thank you to my new to those that support my channel, and Owen, one of my new patrons over on Patreon. I did see your message yesterday, and I'm going to respond. I meant to reach out to you first. You and David, who joined joined me on Patreon this week. Thank you so much. I saw your message, Owen. It's a funny thing how the most important communications that I receive are often the last that I respond to, because I typically wait for the frame of mind when I've got a bit of free time. It's like sitting down to a really delicious piece of cheesecake. You know, you don't want to enjoy a piece of cheesecake when the kids are fussing, or the postman's ringing at the door. You want to save that piece of cheesecake for the evening after all the work is done, when the house is quiet, when you can really enjoy it. And the most important correspondence that I get are the same way. So when I get a new person who joins on Patreon or something like that, I like to reach out to them, send them an email, but I wait for that moment when I have a free time so I can really focus. So I saw your response, Owen, your email to me, Owen, thank you, and I'm going to respond to you. It's funny how that works, right? the most important email, it's triage of a sort, right? It's triage. I mean, it's not life and death. So the people that the correspondence that matter the most wait for the most opportune moments. All right, it doesn't mean if I respond to you quickly, if you send me an email and I respond quickly, that your email wasn't important to me. A lot of time, now that I'm retired and I find myself with a lot of time, very often I'll get an email right there that'll just come, and I'll, bam, responded right back to it, because it happened to be in a great frame of mind and etc. So that happens too. So if you hear from me quickly, it doesn't mean that your message wasn't important. You just caught me at a good time. I think I've covered all of that. Let's move on now to the notes regarding the last 24 hours, which has just one single note, but it's layered. It's got some depth to it. Before I read it, though, a little build up. If you follow my story, you'll know that after I retired, I had about 2 months of, yay, this is fun, retire, ooh, a cruise ship, yay, I'll go to the mezzanine bar, what's on, am I going to sit at the captain's table tonight? That gets old. And then I had about 4 months of, what the hell am I doing? Figure something out. I wasn't 4 months, it was about a month of confusion. And then I finally resolved that I couldn't figure it out. It was a problem that I couldn't solve. So I turned to what I know how to do, which is work. And I started up my business. That failed this week. Okay, so I tried again, and I failed at at my business. And also I tried to get a job. I sent out like 4 resumes to try to get a job. Again, turning to work, right? And I didn't get any, I got responses from 1, and then I got an interview, but I don't think that's going to work out. So I ran into dead ends all around. And then I'm faced with, this happened last week. I'm like, well, okay. I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know what to do with my freedom. My business failed. No one wants, the jobs that I applied for, nobody seems to need me. I don't do hobbies, and I don't do volunteering. Now what? And I sat on that for about a week. Sat on my hands trying to think of what to do. And then 48 hours ago, I kind of resolved, and it was also Jason, you will know who you are. It was a prompt from my friend Jason over on X, who reminded me, I like to walk and think. That's my tagline. And I had been rummaging that thought in the back of my mind, but it was Jason's comment on YouTube that brought it to the fore. And I said, well, I'll just go out and walk and think. And I did 2 days ago, and had the best day since settling into retirement. I mean, nothing will beat the first 2 weeks. That was great. But the best day yet 2 days ago. And then yesterday I was planning to have another day, similar day, but opportunity came up for Yumiko and I to do some stuff. And we spent the day together, and I had another day of doing what I'm calling floating, which it was, and I wrote in this morning's blog post that it's like getting on an inner tube at the riverbank and just pushing off from the bank and letting the water take you away, leaving the completed projects that I've been working on at the side of the river there. The projects are done. See, what had happened is I'd finished the work at the riverbank, 40 years of adult effort, raising a child, executing a career, completing all of that. I was done. Looked around, now what? Well, you know, one thing people do is they pick up a hobby, right? You know, grab a fishing pole, toss it in this river that happens to be here. Maybe I'll catch a couple of fish, or maybe take up knitting or stamp collecting, or whatever it is. People do that, and they maybe they stand there and they do that. Some people, and I know a lot of them, find themselves with nothing to do, and they sit down, and this is the way I'm visualizing it now. They sit down at the riverbank next to their completed works, and they just wait. That's exactly what my father-in-law is doing, my mother is doing, the man that I sometimes refer to who lives right around the corner, not that house, but the one next to it you can't see, is in there, and I'm going to see him in about half an hour because he and I will do radio exercise together. And so many people that I know here in Japan, and so many people that I know in life, and it doesn't speak to any physical circumstance. It doesn't mean that if you stay in your house or you do your old routine that you're sitting down. The sitting down comes from not knowing what to do with yourself and giving up. And I realized, if you see these videos from a few days back, earlier in the week, I realized, I even wrote down, I said, I'm in a really dangerous place here, because one of two things is going to happen. I'm going to either do something, or I'm going to, and I didn't use the words then, I'm going to sit down and never move again. Very, very dangerous. The sitting down, if you sit down, it's a little like sitting down in quicksand. You slowly begin to get sucked into the mud. And it's very hard to extract yourself after a while. You'd be vociferous in your resistance to getting out. I mean, my neighbor next door, the neighbor on the corner, I've tried. He's like, as best as he can in Japanese without cussing. He's like, get the hell out of my face, Kurt. We're done talking here. I'm going back into my house. And it doesn't mean, I don't know, maybe he's collecting stamps in there. I don't know. But whatever it is, and he's told me that his life is pretty miserable. I would think that my father-in-law would tell you the same. I mean, he's got a comfortable life, but he doesn't want any help. He doesn't know what to do himself. And I think his is too. My mom is also in a pretty miserable state, and she doesn't want anybody's help. And I've had other people, the regulars that show up in these videos, tell me that they know people like that too. Now, those of us who seem to show up at these videos seem to be those of us that are retired, seem to be amongst a crew, and I'm hopefully recently joining you in that, who have found yourself the other way. I'll give, for example, an example of Tim, who I'm just picking your name out, Tim, because you seem to have succeeded in this. Others have as well, but I'm not, by not saying the other people's names, it doesn't mean I'm saying you haven't. I'm just picking Tim out. Tim, you seem to have found your way through. You're a couple of years ahead of me on this retirement game. And, I'm kind of see you as a role model. See me, senpai. Now, I realized earlier in the week that I had kind of reached an end of the line, right? It was shit or get out of the pot, right? And I don't cuss. So that kind of illustrates how serious this moment was, right? I knew that I'd run out of options. My business wasn't going to happen. Nobody wanted me to work, at least not the way I would be willing to work. I don't want a hobby. I'm not a volunteer. What am I going to do? And then Jason reminded me, I like to walk and think. And I began on Thursday to do just that. And I had a splendid day at it. And I don't think it was the splendid ephemera of something new. It was the sensation, the peaceful sensation that comes of pushing off and leaving behind a completed work. And as the analogy, the image that I'm creating now is getting into a rubber inner tube, pushing off from the shore, leaving my career, my fatherhood years, all that stuff behind, and getting into the tire and floating off into this gentle current, swift yet gentle current, getting swifter every day. and the tube spins around, and hey, there's my wife. She's on a tube as well. Now, and then suddenly we're drifting, the two of us. You know, maybe there's a little cord that kind of, you know, a 5-meter cord that ties our two little rafts together. So we kind of drift apart and then come together and plonk, you know. And then to come together was yesterday. We came together, and my daughter always likes to say, Mom and Dad are always together, and we pretty much are. And we were always, no, it's not always true, but we were really always, we were together all day yesterday, from dog walk to breakfast to taking care of Dad at lunch, to antiquing in Fujieda, in the nearby city of Fujieda, to our evening dog walk and dinner, and then bed. And then, of course, she's by my side all night long. So the tubes are drifting down the river. Now we've left behind the shoreline where our works were. Bye. The note, then, that I wrote for yesterday is 4 simple words with a comma and an underline under a comma between them and an underline under the second word. Gentle, quiet, peaceful, drift. And I put an underline under quiet. I noticed that attending to yesterday's drift and the day prior was not an atmospheric quiet necessarily, but a quiet from within. I found myself speaking a lot less than I usually do. I'm a talkative guy. And Yumiko's a very quiet woman, and I was, yesterday at least, a quiet man. And we moved through the day saying less, because I think my talkative nature before was me filling the air with something, anything, words to occupy the space. And now that we're drifting on tubes down the river together, the river taking us along, there's less need to communicate or speak, or especially fill the air with words. It's kind of a distraction when you're tubing, isn't it? Just kind of be quiet and enjoy the drift. That was yesterday. Pretty incredible day. And the day before that, incredible too. Does that mean that this time next week I'll be reporting that I had a solid week of drift? I think it does, actually. No, that's a bold statement, Kurt. I think I can know a new season when I see it. I think that it's arrived, and that it arrived through a natural course of trial and effort. I had to give it a try. I had to see if the old ways would fit, if the old suit of clothes, if the old processes that I was familiar with still had anything left. It's a little like trying to squeeze a last bit of toothpaste out of the toothpaste tube. Like maybe there's a little more in there. You know, there's a new tube down below. It's a new type that my wife got. It's different from this one. This is Crest. That's Colgate, right? I don't know if I like Colgate, but maybe I like Crest. You know, I could squeeze just a little more. And for a couple of months, I could squeeze a little bit of this good toothpaste out and use it. It's all gone. I have to put it in the waste bin, pull up that new tube of toothpaste that's unfamiliar, and guess what? It's pretty nice. I've got a new tube. There's a new toothpaste in town. I think this might be the way. I think I might have found myself through to the other side. And it all comes down to simply abiding my own best practice, my own guidance, my own mantra. I like to walk and think. And I want to give a big thanks to Jason, who I believe watches this from time to time. If you see this, Jason, thank you very much. All right, now let's go over my creed. I promised I'd talk about death, didn't I? I have 8 objectives in my book. These are the objectives that I strive to live towards every day. The first of these is the objective of being always ready to die. Sometimes I go fast, but today I'll linger for just a second. What does that mean? It means that I need to be prepared for my death by having my life in an organized state, both with my affairs and whatever it is I wanted to do as a life's work, and my relationships. So I ask myself every day, are Are things in good shape? If I keel over and die right now, will my wife be well cared for? She's my main concern. Will my wife be well cared for? Yeah, she will. She'll be in good shape. Just got my pension payment this morning. So, check on that. It comes at the end of the month and check that. Okay, there's the pension. And I send the pension to Yumiko. And so that mechanism is in place for the rest of my life. So, and then after I'm dead, it's in place for her the rest of her life. So she's taken care of financially for the rest of our life and her life. So that's good. So check. Is my life's work complete? Well, my barbaric yelp is yelped. I've written my book. This is the thing that I wanted to do in life, was to have live an interesting life trajectory of discovery, challenge, and consideration, and then write about and codify whatever I learn if I can come out of it. That's my life's work. My other life's work is the raising of my daughter to be a good human being and able to be independent and take care of herself. Like I said when I started this, she's spending the whole month of August in another country doing stuff with people, taking care of herself. Yeah, she's fine. So my life's work is done. So that was the second one. Are my affairs in order? Is my life's work done? Check, check. The third one is my relationships. Do I have anybody that I have sour words with that I need to, or I can possibly, rectify? I don't. Sure, there's my mom. She's as mean to me as always. I shouldn't lay that on her. Maybe she has good reason to be angry at me. I don't know. But I don't think there's anything I can do. She's been mad at me since I was a kid. So I don't think there's anything I can do to make her happy. So that one of the things in my book is this. One of the objectives is the recognition of true limits and true opportunities. Making my mom happy in her unreasonable demands, from my perspective, is beyond the scope of my control. I can't do that. I need to let myself be satisfied that I'm ready for death, even though my mom remains unhappy with me. So yeah, I'm ready to die. First objective complete. Number 2 is to make good and effective use of my time, to spend my days living well. And that doesn't necessarily mean I have to be busy anymore. The busy, hard-working days are done. A good use of time now is walking and thinking, drifting on my tube in the river with my wife connected to me by that, 10-meter cord, and pull each other in sometimes and have lunch, and then let go and drift apart. It's a good use of time. 3 is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles, namely the principles and objectives in my book. And I work on that every day. That's why I do this video every day. Number 4 is to cultivate good emotional reactions so that I respond well when things get tricky. I do. If I don't, I'll make a note of it in my book and I'll work on it. Number 5 is to perform good actions relative to my values, which means actions that help to contribute to the well-being of thinking creatures, reducing pain in the world and improving happiness that is of a reasonable nature. Number 6 is to recognize my true limits and true opportunities so that I'm always operating within the scope of my own control, not asking myself to do more than is possible or reasonable. Number 7 is to do just one thing at a time, and do that thing slowly, deliberately, and carefully. And what did I say the note today was from last 24 hours? Gentle, quiet, peaceful drift. Ooh, that sounds like good attendance to objective number 7. Wouldn't that be interesting if that's the case? That my life has led me, and my endeavors have led me to the satisfaction of not only objective number 7, but also objective number 8, which is the objective of balance in both body and mind. And I feel exceptionally well balanced right now, even though there's a pain in my right foot right now from something, I'm growing old. Balance doesn't mean pain-free. It just simply means, stoic good posture in both body and mind. Oh, I completed the creed objectives, but I need to now read from the book. Yesterday, I read the principle titled The Pirate Ride, didn't I? Today I'm going to read the principle number 10, Principle of Maturity, found on page 257 of the hardbound edition. If you want to follow along in the book on the online edition, just simply go to the goingalone.org, click on the link that says read the book, scroll down to the chapter titled The Good Life, and look for, or do a search on the webpage for the Principle of Maturity, with 3 sub-principles: wisdom, fortitude, and integrity. Maturity is a finely curated collection of experience, gained of life trials, both succeeding and failing, and recalled with some accuracy and honest consideration towards improved future ends. Wisdom is the soil where such considerations are plowed, while fortitude is the will and persistence to see the harvest through, and integrity maintains our sound constitution. That's all there is to it. Developing the wisdom through our experiences in life to then generate the fortitude, the strength to then follow our best practice, our hard-earned best practice, through to the end, and then having the integrity of aligning our values with our actions such that we have a sound constitution in both principles, objectives, and execution. And that's it. I've covered everything I wanted to cover today. And we're 26 minutes in, almost 27 minutes in. I have plenty of time for to make it to a radio exercise. Although we're going to go early. We're going to go to the antique flea market this morning. Yumiko told me that we're leaving early. Like we're going to go like 7:30 or 8, which means we're probably everything's fast tracked. Coil Chai. Hello, Coil Chai. I don't think I've seen your name before. Welcome. Hello, Julie. BBB. Good to see you. Good afternoon to you. Tim, reporting in from the UK at 9:37 p.m. at 15.9 degrees Celsius and 70% humidity, showery, sunny day. Oslo is beautiful. My dad used to describe days like that as he'd look out when the sun was shining and the rain was coming down. And he said, he'd look out the window and say, the devil's beating his wife again. I always thought that was an interesting bit of phraseology. I wonder if people say that in the UK. 15.9, that's pretty nice, and 72%. Wow, that's pretty nice, Tim. Sounds like pleasant humidity. Did you get out and run today in the rain? Erica is growing. Hey, well, Erica, welcome back. I haven't seen you for a little bit. Hi, everyone. Hope it's a wonderful day for all. Thank you. It's starting off to be a pretty nice one. Francesco Zanetti, hello to you. Julie BBB says, your note from yesterday is very similar to what I had been doing all year. Really, I remember what that note was. Are you referring to the blog post or the journal entry that I did in my video upload? Julie BBB says, it has been one of my happiest years of my life. Really, that's wonderful. I wonder if it's rubbing off. If your experience of Tim and Evelyn and Robert and the others that come in here and leave your notes of experience are starting to rub off on me. Thank you for that if that's the case. I'm sure it's the case. Tim says, thanks, Kurt. I left a message on your ghost at the harbor with my dog vlog earlier. And I think, like me, at your stage in retirement, you are starting to come through the other side in your retirement. I think so too, Tim. That's why I mentioned earlier with kind of a smug confidence that I think I found my way through. I really do. And getting your hallelujah, so to speak. And also the note from Julie as well, that she seems to be there as well. I feel like I've come through like a hedgerow, right? Isn't that what you have in the UK, right? You know, separating one big great field from another great field, and the big hedgerow thing, like a fence, and like I can hear Tim and Julie and Evelyn and Robert over on the other side, you know, having a grand old time in retirement, and I'm like, I want to get over there too. And, you know, what do you call those things in the UK, Tim, where you can climb up the steps? Walkers use them, right, to give right of way to go over the hedgerow. You guys, there's a word for that, I think, right? And because I think you guys do that in your civilized manner. Here, back in the United States, we don't offer, ranchers in Texas won't offer you a ramp over the barbed wire fence. They'll just face you down with a shotgun if you trespass. But I think in the UK you do that. But a hedgerow, I mean, I think you can kind of weave your way through all the brambles, right? And I think I've just popped through the other side. And there's Tim and Julie and Robert and Evelyn and others are out there saying, hey, glad you made it, Kurt. Hello, Marmite. Good morning to you. Quest Tim, in your retirement quest. Yes, I got it. Thank you. I think Tim goes on. I think the important realization is you can have a good utilization of time, but in a more relaxed manner. Then perhaps there is no need to compete with yourself. I think that's where the inner peace comes in. In your case, the walking and thinking, it showed in that vlog at the harbor, and just walking around, the soaking everything in. Also, you watched the video. Yeah, did it come through? I'm glad it came through. That was a long video. I'm glad to get your feedback about that as well. And I think you're right, Tim. I think that the long practice of adult endeavor don't you think, and maybe Julie and others will, and certainly Robert will agree, Evelyn as well, that those long years of adult endeavor kind of trained us to be vigilant. I mean, like a police officer, right? I mean, a police officer, I imagine even after a police officer retires, they can't enter a restaurant without kind of subtly surveying the room, right? You know, okay, there's a suspicious guy in the back by the restroom, you know, that guy over there looks like he might be carrying, right? I mean, a cop can't stop doing that. Maybe there's a similar type of an activity that occurs for retirees that we kind of need to get over it, right? Before we can be in peace. No, the peace, the drift note. No, the peace, the drift note. Oh, the drift note, the one I just, oh, you're talking about the one I just posted about drifting in the inner tube. So you read that. Yeah, that's what you feel that like you're there. Ah, that's wonderful, Julie. That's wonderful. I'm really glad. I didn't go so far in that when I was writing that piece up to note. I almost did, to say there are others drifting in the river as well. And I didn't go so far because sometimes I try to keep things a little more succinct. I'm glad to hear that, Julie. And that makes perfect sense. Tim says, LOL, yes, I have a big hedge grown down the side of my house, but I'm firmly on the retirement side now. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Kissing gates, is that what they're called? So that the daughter from the one farm and the son from the other farm can come over and kiss over the top of the gate. Julie says, yes, I started working my teens, so letting go is just a big blank spot. So Julie, did you go through a similar type of a period, though, of adjustment when you retired? Did it take you a while to find your footing? I'm going to hold off and sip my coffee because I'm really interested to hear if Julie would care to respond to that. Because it seems like that's a thing. It seems like just about everybody that I've talked to or I watch videos about describes a period of time that it takes greater or longer for some to get through this. And that some, and I'm also suspicious that some never get through it. Julie adds, oh yes, it took a year or two. Okay, well then I'm going to calm down. If it took you a year or two to get there, Julie, then, and I'm only 8 months in, then I need to relax a little bit, right? And not hold myself, not push myself so hard. Because other people are telling me a year as well, you know, or more. Marmady says there's a romantic tradition where you have to exchange a kiss to pass through them. Oh, okay. So it also kind of reminds me of a Monty Python skit, doesn't it? Alrighty. Well, thank you everybody for joining me this morning. Your reinforcement really means a lot to me. I really do appreciate it. I think my wife is calling me. I'm going to sign off for now. Go to my wife because we're getting an early start. See you all next time. Maybe see you tomorrow, I hope. Bye-bye. Be safe, but not too safe. Bye-bye.